I don't know that they have like the greatest structure for something like this. Scott said it was kind of shit.
Yeah, let me just log in.
I don't think so. I know I wrote this down.
Brain was in like 5 spots. Right here. Less bald head. Yeah. I got tired of that. Right. So whatever.
I saw.
For the impact. So. Yeah. Right. So just for today, we're gonna run through a meeting, be efficient again, and then we're gonna go into closed session and talk about this stuff. He's playing it out. And we want to hear from us. What do we think? So we should speak. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, great. All right, next time, just let me know when you're. I'm trying to, yeah. Okay, sorry, everyone. We just have a technical delay here, but we'll be getting going shortly. Thanks.
Recording.
Right, I'm on. Going for. Cool. Recording is in. Okay, great. And Alicia, yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lincoln Park High School Local School Council. I'd like to call to order the January 2024 meeting. Happy New Year to everybody. I'd like to jump into roll call, and if we could start with Miss Sepulveda.
Angelica Sepulveda, Community Relations Rep.
Okay, Miss Kaler.
Here.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I could have stood that. Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Brad Kessler, Community Rep.
Here.
Miss Zemnick, Parent Rep and Vice Chair. Peter Tolmer's here. Ed Smith. Dr. Steinmiller.
Here.
Sasha Zenko, Parent.
Here.
Mr. Coddens.
Present.
Miss Rosenthal. Mr. Trzaskowski.
Here.
Great. I know that Paul Kendrick was going to be joining virtually. I don't know if he is here. Yes, he is.
Hello.
Okay.
See everyone. Sorry.
And Alicia. Okay, so I think everyone's here except for Okoya Love, who commented that she's not able to attend today. Just a technical item is now that we're called to order. We've done a roll call in order for Mr. Kendrick and Ms. Hernandez to join virtually because of issues they've had to not be able to be here. We have to vote them in. Is there a motion to vote them to allow them to participate virtually? Ms. Zemnick, is there a second? Mr. Coddens, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Welcome to the party officially. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks,
Yes,
Troy.
yes. Excited to have you. Next item is to review and approve minutes from the December meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'm looking to approve the minutes from the December meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Kaler. All those in favor? Okay. Passes, I think, unanimously. Were you both? Okay. Passes unanimously. Great. Okay. Next, one other thing is some of you were maybe not here in December. We are trying to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of these meetings. So we've allocated time for each of the items on the agenda. I'll kind of communicate that. So when we get to like subcommittees, we have 3 minutes per committee. If someone needs a little more time, that's fine. But our goal is to just try to be efficient. At the end of this meeting, the LSC is going to go into closed session to discuss some of the items that came up during the principal evaluation and how we want to be actioning them this year. So that's just an FYI. With that, our next item are celebrations for Lincoln Park High School. Does anyone have anything to call out on great things they've seen happening in the school community? I will start by saying that students mostly survived finals, mostly joyously, I think. See the smiles from the students here. That must mean you love them and they were something to celebrate. Okay.
So school still had some work going on over the holiday break. We were able to continue some of the facilities and dealing with our plumbing underneath our basement, where we've had a lot of flooding. We were able to take additional steps to fix that. So thank you to our custodial and our engineering team for their working over the holidays.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is that Mr. Cantori?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Anything else? Anything else? I am gonna steal some slight thunder from the athletic updates, but I've celebrated that we have a open athletic director position, and I understand we've had 44 applicants submit for interest. So that's super exciting. Just have that level of interest. Candidates will get an update later on in the meeting on how we're winnowing down sort of to a final round. But from what I've heard, we have several people that have deep experience. So I think we're going to be able to really add some heft to that part of our school that's really been needing that. So that's something else I'm excited about. Another thing I'm excited about is to have Mr. Young here today, talk to us about college and career post-secondary options. He joined us last year midstream. And now that we have a lot of things going, he's going to provide us an update. So thanks, Mr. Young, for coming. Appreciate that. Anything else? Okay, I think we're going to move forward. I once again skipped public participation, so I apologize. I don't know why. Just too excited to celebrate or approve the minutes. I don't know. Does anyone have anything to say as a public statement, either online or in person? We welcome people to come up to the podium. Keep your comments to 2 minutes or online. If there's anyone, we would love to hear from you. No? Okay, no one in the room online. I don't see anyone else there. So, okay, no public comment. We'll keep on trucking. Our next item is number 6, which is the budget subcommittee. I'll turn it over to Mr. Kessler, who's our budget committee chair.
Dr. Semmler, if you're control, you put up the spreadsheet. We just have, to my knowledge, unless any last minute requests came in,
There were
we have,
some last minute requests.
okay. Okay. We had a budget transfer subcommittee meeting in which we did vote to approve number of budget transfers. But if we pull it up, I can briefly show them. Yes. Yep. So Mr. Cottons and Dr. Macias were at the meeting.
As you can see, just for some clarification, there is a new column A that was requested from that meeting that we're working on, that was added, requested from the teachers.
That's great. Thank you. So if we scroll down, just to briefly walk through the big ticket items, although we didn't talk about row 197, which is the last row there in the meeting. So I'm going to ask Dr. Steinmiller about that in a moment. But the dollar amounts, both the $5,000, if people can see row 188, and then the $15,000, that's row 192. So that $20,000 combined is for transportation. So moving dollars around to make sure we can afford, buses for sports. There's an additional dollar amount of $3,469.70, although we won't be approving that right now because that was approved in December. It's just highlighted because of some IT issues putting through the dollar transfer. I wanted to highlight those. They were approved out of the subcommittee, but just as an example of how much money we spend on transportation, we went into a conversation that we've had a couple times as an LSC over the years, that we spend about $77,000 or so on sports transportation per year. The majority of those dollar amounts happen in the spring. So we will be approving additional budget transfers as it goes on. The school, I believe, and Dr. Steinmiller can confirm this or not, has already released requests for the second semester student fees. Our student fee a lot we have left, the allotment we have left is very low. It's about $7,000. So we just collected first semester last year as opposed to a whole year worth. So we talked about that as a subcommittee as well. So we need to get that in, and then we're gonna need to fund sports transportation on top of that 77,000 or so that we spend on sports traditionally. We spend another 50 or so $1,000, if I recall correctly, on other transportations for field trips and things like that. So we talked as a subcommittee in two different ways. Of one, there was a consultant that Jane's wonderful mother introduced me to that might be willing to work with us on a pro bono basis to help evaluate what our best financial moves would be of whether to purchase buses and whether that would work for us and what quantity of buses would need to be purchased in order to meet the need at simultaneous times compared to just paying a third party vendor. And then also Dr. Macias was going to connect with CTU because of a recent announcement of CTU and CPS purchasing or getting a grant to purchase 50 green buses. And so there might be an idea if we could, wave a magic wand that we could either get one of those or piggyback and make a purchase on top of it if they got some kind of preferred pricing structure. So Dr. Macias was taking that on as a next step, which is awesome collaboration. Dr. Steinmiller, if you can comment on specifically the $4,540 transfer of OST grant funds.
I mean, those are for OST funds going to specific clubs and requests that have been made, the different organizations. The 4,540, actually at the top of, I'm blinking. It's going to a club, and I can't remember what club and what it is for.
Let's see if we can bring in.
My brain
I don't know
here.
that. We just put in a bunch of orders, not for that amount. So maybe that was just a transfer for multiple orders. Could that be the case?
That would be the case.
Yeah.
I don't know a single $4,050 purchase, but if it's all moving, what this is, the grants are moving from a travel line to an OST travel line to a commodity supply line for OST clubs. A commodity supply line to pay for multiple clubs, but that's just where you have to move those funds. So that would be why I also not put them purchase.
I'll also make a comment because it's in relation to this, and thankfully with our very own Angelica managing OST dollars. I know Dr. Steinmiller might be giving an update that there's an audit that happens every few years. Will you be talking about that at all today, Dr. Steinmiller?
No, I think it kind of brought it up briefly in committee. I know it was right after. I think that's the teachers were going out of class.
Okay.
I'll make an announcement right here.
Yeah.
The principal report, that'll be primarily focused on post-secondary. About every 4 years or so, you get audited when usually the principal, you come in and you ask for an audit of financial systems. That was actually requested before I ever arrived. We know based on that report that we were in the red in pretty much almost every category. When you're in the red, you're going to be audited again shortly, usually 4 years after. That's our case. So we are going to be audited on, I believe, February 12th and 13th, Monday and Tuesday. I've already met with members of our business office, facilities, but it's not just our attendance office. It's not just pure. They've actually expanded it a little bit more into some of the student quality of data. So we are prepared for it. It's coming. We're planning for it. We have our books in line, and we're actually kind of excited isn't the right word, but in demonstrating where we have been able to grow some of our systems and are evaluating, any potential gaps that would come along with that. So it's kind of positive to see growth. So that'll be coming up the 12th and 13th. So I think that'll be after our next LFC meeting. But I'll definitely will be reporting out on that data once that's.
All right, thank you. I know the last audit we believe was 2020, and so
April.
yeah, so folks get a sense of every few years. Okay, since this was approved out of committee, well, except for the 45, 40, 480, and 350, I am going to just ask for a second on the amount that was approved out of committee. That was $21,619.53. Is there a second on that? Is that correct? How we do that? What do you think?
Without a committee, you don't have to, but since we added 4 different things, it makes sense to have a second.
Well, and I was going to do that as a separate
one
one in
in
general.
committee doesn't require it.
Okay, just going right to a vote.
I move that we do this. And
Okay, so I move that we approve $21,619.53 budget transfers.
You vote. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, great.
Paul, are you, yes? Sorry, can't see.
Yes, sorry, yes.
All right, cool.
No.
Thank
So,
you for asking.
Passes?
and then then there's the
Yeah.
4 lines that are new OST funds. Those would require a second.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve $5,874.60 in OST funds that are being moved to commodity lines.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Those 4.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Cons, are you abstaining or you? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, yes, 1 abstain.
Okay, the only other thing worth mentioning, I know the committee is looking for a date in January for us to meet to go more of a deep dive into large strategic dollar amounts like transportation, but figure out a path forward with these large ticket items and thinking through, projecting what might be needed going forward.
Could you, Brad, when in the process of selecting that date or once it is, could you communicate that to the LSC? Because there could be people who are interested that maybe aren't on the committee formally, just for awareness. They want to join or something like that.
Yeah, certainly.
Great.
There were the 2 additional fees that were submitted after committee, and I apologize for the delay in that. One was, I know Stuckey proposed a fee for the French student exchange travel. It's a partnership we've had for a number of years. It's about $200 fee to be able to do that. And then the second was with National Honor Society. There is a fee of $20 that is usually associated with the National Honor Society. But those are 2 fees that would be added to students' accounts who are participating in specific groups. But those were given after part of our delay obviously is having some of the holiday break. There's kind of a short turnaround between our last LSC meeting. This one was 1 week, really, school time. So they just proposed those after, and I want to try to get in front of the LSC to get it moving forward. So, but that would require a movement and a second. Unless there are any questions before then.
Does the $20 fee how does that work again? Explain that. Does it
I believe
go?
it goes to, I'll click on. This is collected, it goes towards induction ceremony gifts and then registration fees for NHS.
So each student would be paying for it?
Yeah,
That's
each
on,
student does, that's their induction ceremony gift and then registration with NHS.
okay. Because usually the school would take care of that, but but the students have to now pay for it.
I don't know if we've paid for it.
I mean, in the past, I think it was just taken care of. That's why I think the school paid for whatever that is, right? I think it's like a couple $1,000s to be a member of NHS, right?
I mean, if you think about making it up 100 kids and you had 20, I don't recall.
I thought there was just a flat fee. So you're just saying that you would rather now have the students pay for it rather than the school.
The school didn't, our membership. So no one's.
Well, I was NHS supervisor for a long time and the school always paid for it. Yeah, because I don't
Yeah.
think anybody was doing it here, right? I think then it sort of went away and we wanted it to get it back. Yeah. But I'm saying before that, yeah. I would just,
When
yeah.
you were here,
Yeah.
when you were here as the NHS person, the school paid for this,
For the members.
for the members for the
Yeah.
school.
Right.
Got it.
We can explore that. I'm not opposed to it. Just want to make sure that we get there. We're at this point extremely.
I know. I was just sitting there. I was sitting there today at the 2, what you say, the junior and senior meetings in the auditorium and all the fees that were put on there. And I don't know, I guess it just stirred me a little bit. even, I don't know. I think of myself as a middle class, family, with 2 kids and, geez, all of those fees just for us would be a lot. And but I know you have said in the past that if a student can't pay, that you're open to all of that. I guess it's just, I don't know. It's just a lot of money that keeps being asked from parents in a public school, right? So maybe I just want to say that it's not a blame thing. It's just, these are really tough times for people. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm happy to, we could explore this in budget committee or the membership. I'm not I'm-
saying that's the right thing either.
we're, but I do hear you. And I think it's a valid point, and it's something that if we in a school want to be committed to paying membership moving forward, I think we can discuss that. I think right now is like the timeless of just getting the students membership, moving forward. So I'd be happy to table this until the next meeting and revisit it. I definitely think with the French, I know with the French exchange, we need to get that moving forward relatively quickly.
Oh, what's that again? Each student pays
200, that's 200.
for each
that-
students that are going to the Louis.
No, I mean, that's what, they didn't come up.
Yeah, they did not. We actually got these after the fact, so.
Our normal process is that things go to the budget. No, just to clarify for everyone, normally these requests go to the budget committee first and then are discussed. And then we have a blanket approval here, which we just did. These came in after the Monday or Tuesday meeting. So they came in kind of later than usual, and that's why we're handling them. But just so we can not hold them up another month, we're trying to vote them.
Yeah, I can clarify for the French exchange program. This is where our students, we have an exchange program with the school in France. The fees for this cover, again, we have our partner school comes to our school, visits. This is what this part of this is covering. Coach buses, CTA venture cards, cultural visits, school buses. The host families themselves are covering like lodging, meals, but this is reciprocal between both schools. And so this is how we do our partnership. So that's what the 200 is about. I would highly encourage that we move forward with this very quickly on the 200. That is not one that we want to miss and mess up in a partnership. And the families have already understood these expectations, so this is not a surprise. So this is something that we just need to formalize to be able to put the fee into Oracle to be able to provide the fee to those families who have already committed to participate.
This is the French families or the
French.
receiving families?
But our students here are paying, but that's their families are doing similar things.
So the students who sign up for this knew that there's a $200 fee to cover these costs.
Yes, this is
We're
not
just-
we have to have this during our audit in February. They would say, you charged a fee for $200 to students, where is the letter? We're gonna have to do this letter, and then they would check our minutes and say, has it been approved by the LFC? So this is a formal process that must occur, or else we cannot put that fee in their account, and therefore we can't provide, can move forward with supporting.
And like last year and years past, is this the process that this French program followed? This kind of.
Yeah, this is a similar. So I would say the same. I mean, we're doing the same thing we've done. I can't say prior when I can't speak for anything within the last 2 years of doing this. This has been a problem.
But the last 2 years is what we did. Okay, great. I think we should go ahead.
Just one last thing. I think I was looking on NHS and what it costs for a school to be affiliated, and it's annually $385. So I guess I would say then, if it's $20 a student, how many students do we typically have?
School.
Yeah, that's the school and the affiliation fee.
We pay for the school.
That was what I'm
We pay
talking
for
about,
the
Dr.
school
Steinmiller.
membership. We had to renew it because leading up to 2021, spring of 2021, the 5 years previous or so, we were not an active charter. with NHS. We had to reactivate. There was participation. Students were told they were in NHS, but they weren't officially chartered. We weren't officially chartered as a school. They were not officially NHS members based on from a school of being an official charter with NHS. We've renewed that charter. That is the cost. We do pay that. This is for an individual student membership. So they can have that.
Got it. But I didn't know that either. But the school is paying that membership fee. Yeah.
We cover our charter.
Mhm.
payment every year.
Okay.
So we do cover that. So I mean, that's what you were like referring to.
So what does that $20 go to
That goes
then?
towards students, members, they become independent members of NHS. And then also they get a little thing when they are NHS members. But, and again, I'm happy to table that and get more clarification.
Yeah, okay.
Miss Diaz couldn't be here today because she is currently doing interviews with 3 new AD applicants that we received that we want to make sure we were expediting that. So she isn't able to be here today to clarify. So I apologize for not having a better explanation, but I'm happy to just focus on the French and table the NHS. Does that sound?
I mean, it seems to me important to be an individual member. You have to say.
That's right.
Yeah, it's part of getting the honor.
I just, I'm not gonna be able to explain
Okay.
it effectively, so I apologize for that.
If there's no, with that,
Yeah, that's new to me.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
all right, let's table that. Let's table NHS for next month since there's no impact right now. But let's vote on the $200 for the French exchange program for Ms. Tookie.
And I will follow up with Ms. Theus through a
Okay.
chat right now, just to kind of
Okay.
get it. You got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll try to get clarification on it. So if I ask that we table it, that means we can pull it from the table later in the meeting.
Okay, great. So is there a motion, Ben? Do you want to make the
I
motion?
move that we approve the fees for the French exchange program.
Okay, is there a second? Ms. Zemnick, all those in favor? Great. Paul, I assume your hand is up. I can see you, Alicia. Thank you. Okay, great. Paul's up.
Aye.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. So that motion passes. Is that it for budget? All right, I'm going to move us forward.
Can I ask a question real quick? about
yes.
The budget, do you know how much, sorry, how much money does the school have to make back from the House of Blues to pay that debt? Or what does that look like? Does anyone know?
I certainly don't know off the top of my head.
I mean,
I'm not familiar
The
with it.
majority, not just House of Blues, but most facilities to put on events like that are usually 40,000.
So I guess my question is, I wasn't here when the school made that decision, but was that already paid up front and then we're just hoping we make $40,000?
Yeah, no,
Oh.
like we set up fees and we know that students have to, we don't pay it up front. Right now, we have a purchase order to be able to fulfill it.
Mhm.
Students complete the fees and then we're able to pay it off. That's also why it's called a fundraiser instead of just a fee. Because if we do go over, then there is surplus that I'm positive on it. We do need to make that 39, not just 39. That is for the event space, but when you have a DJ, that has to be $3,000. When you do the other things, and this is all the student life committee they plan these activities and are a part of what this looks like. So that's most spaces are minimum 40 to be able to fit the size of students are going to be 40,000, 50, $60,000.
And where does the money come from if we don't make the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 back?
Then we're in hot water. We have to pay it out of, but we have been made, like, for example, even with homecoming, we were able to go.
Yeah. And the dance isn't like a week, right? It's on the 24th, I think. Okay.
Maybe selling tickets for that.
Yeah, we're on a decent pace at this point. I don't have a number, but we're on a pretty decent pace. And usually do have something, but we need to we'll keep pushing to get to that mark. I mean, last year we had more than the set mark we're looking for. We've had more end up going last year. Homecoming, we had more than we anticipated going. But these are things that stress me out that we have to keep focusing on, but we keep pushing and getting it. And our students, well, that's what they participate. It's what they want in events.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Ms. Pulvito. Thanks, Mr. Simler. We're on to our next item, which is outside affiliated committee reports, which is Friends of Lincoln Park High School. Is Sabrina or anyone from Friends of Lincoln Park High School on the call? Let's see them.
Sabrina is, and her hand is raised.
Oh, great. Thank you. Sabrina, over to you.
Great. Hello, Happy New Year. I'm
Happy
sorry.
New Year.
Oops, do I need to I can
No,
stay
you're
as
good.
an attendee. Sorry, I'm not there in person. So just quickly, we will have our next meeting on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. In the same room that you guys are in. And we have a couple of upcoming events. We'll be sending out some more information shortly. But we have a date for our spring party fundraiser. It will be April 20th, again at Galleria Marchetti. And the theme is Our Future Blooms. And again, we'll be sending out more information in the weeks to come and more details. We are trying to get corporate sponsors and donation items. So we'll be again sending out information about that. But if anyone has any ideas, items, connections to corporate sponsors, we would love help with that. And we'd also, of course, love to see everyone at the event. And then new this year, we will be having on February 7th an adult trivia night at Hopsmiths. So hopefully people can attend that, and we'll be sending out information about that as well. And that's sort of the general main things. If anyone has any questions.
That sounds great, Sabrina. Thank you. And what was the location for the trivia night, you said?
Hopsmiths. It's hold on, I can tell you where it is, but I'm not positive. It's somewhere around here or in Lincoln Park. Here we
Okay.
go. It's on 15 West Division.
Okay.
And
Great.
again, it's Wednesday, February 7th from 5 to 8 p.m. And it's more of a social thing than a fundraiser, but there will be like a $12 cost ahead of time and $15 at the door. And you can play as an individual or on a team. And it should be fun.
That sounds great. Thank you. Any comments or questions from LSC members? No? Okay. Great. Well, thank you, Sabrina. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank
All right.
you.
Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
All right. We're now on to the principal's report. Dr. Steinmiller, over to you.
Awesome. Kind of something that I talked about last LSC meeting. I'm sending out the principal's report. I has a series of information within the domains that is kind of engage the LSC. You had previous access to that. Today's major focus will be post-secondary. So in a moment, I'm going to put up actually a presentation to focus on the post-secondary areas. Some things I do just want to highlight that were in the newsletter. We are in the middle of the hiring process for an athletic director. We'll have a brief athletic portion. So I'm going to kind of hold off on the highlights for athletics. We are currently, some of the things we have been focusing on, we do have a sense of verbal confirmation around turnitin.com, and we're trying to navigate that. It's just a little complicated within Oracle, which is how we make purchase orders. Ms. Tookie has done a really awesome job of trying to help navigate that with turnitin.com and other groups. And so we're still trying to make sure that it's something we can't give money towards it if it's not in the system that we have to use to give money. But it is something that we really do need, especially in the world of AI. We've been preparing for our grade level assemblies. We had our first round of them today with our seniors and our juniors. Part of that, I'll mention this now, even though it is kind of a post-secondary. FAFSA just became available. There are tons of glitches. I think it's shut down even for a day. It's just been very, very complicated and difficult for our seniors. That's why we dedicated quite a bit of time. Our area of focus today was FAFSA. We brought in an additional person to help who will be coming to our school on a regular basis to help our students with FAFSA. That's one of the action items. So my bad. So I will stop talking about post-secondary so that Mr. Young doesn't yell at me. But a lot of intentional work around it. And then with our juniors, we started talking about some of our programming processes. Within that, we had setting expectations, but also around programs of study. Students have until January 26th to submit if they were changing programs of study, meaning our IB diploma program, our advanced college prep, our visual arts. For the juniors, that's not really as applicable to them. We tend to have just a handful sometimes, but I want to make sure they were fully aware of it. And then we're preparing for their course and class selection, which will start with teacher recommendations the week of February 12th. The following week, our rising seniors, our juniors will begin that process. I had the oddest experience ever in talking to our juniors today. When I was like, "Are you all ready to be seniors?" What was the response?
No, like it went kind of silent.
They were like,
People were like,
so apparently,
People booing at one point.
it was the most. Our juniors apparently do not want to become seniors. It was weird, absolutely weird. So other things, I'll stop on just the general highlights. We're moving forward with our professional learning calendar around unit planning. Today we had department meetings focusing on our target instructional area around engagement. Our teachers brought together kind of work products to be able to talk through what engagement looks like in all of our departments. Other highlights, our bilingual counselor has started today, or actually started technically the 22nd. So we have an additional counselor providing supports for our students. Our full-time math position and our math temporary assigned teaching teacher, we're engaging with students this week for the first time. Very excited to have math positions in the place that they need to be. I appreciate the members of the math team for a lot of support that they put prior to the holiday break, but then also in supporting and within curriculum teams and the planning. It's been just a great job by that department to welcome those team members. Again, we're interviewing and supporting for potential leaves, and I believe that's kind of just the general focus. My principal's report was relatively brief because we had a meeting the week before our last week of school, and then we're here now. So that's kind of all I have for updates from the principal's report. Without any further questions, I will transition into our area of focus. I'm going to put I have a presentation together. I know Mr. Young will help guide and lead that. I'll do the introduction at the very beginning, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Young, and we will rock and roll. So give me just a moment.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Young. Welcome. Welcome.
Share the presentation.
Thank you for at least telling me that. I like context since then.
So to kick this off, one of the that's very true. That with our CIWP, I won't go into it, but these are our 3 priorities: curriculum instruction, post-secondary success, and connectedness and well-being. We are going to focus today on one of the 3 CIWP areas. I think it's a way for us to really have a targeted conversation around the development of these priorities. And obviously we'll report out later in the year when we have our budgetary, our budget, to make sure that we're also aligning with our priorities. So this is sort of a check-in update of our CIWP. This is the focus. It's post-secondary success. Some of our performance goals. Again, we'll go into those in more depth. Mr. Young will, but the overarching you can see right here. He will discuss those further in his presentation. But I just want to give you the overview as it pertains to what our CIWP looks like and how it was framed, aligning to his work. And at this point, I just want to say I really appreciate Mr. Young. He jumped in the middle of the year last year. There's some jumped in and put together some really great work. I'll probably interrupt him once or twice to just highlight some of that work, because sometimes people don't necessarily celebrate themselves. I'm going to make sure that he's celebrated within what he's been doing. So I apologize for those interruptions, but right now I will turn it over to you and tell me when to move on.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Steinmiller. So yes, you're correct about that, but I'm only also continuing the work of the college and career coach that was here previous, trying to be sure that there's the most absolute support for the students going forward, no matter what grade level they are. Obviously the seniors as well who are going to be graduating this year, but then also past graduating classes as well too, because the reason why you want to be sure that they all receive the right amount of support in any area of fact or any area that they need pertaining to their particular situation. 3 areas that we wanted to kind of talk about today: communication, some data points, and then also some action plan or steps to help ensure that we are actually committed to what we're doing, and also our CIWP, which I also, Mr. Steinmiller and I worked on most of this summer, if not all summer long, along with like some alumni stuff as well too. So the first slide in itself is the way that we've been trying to communicate with families here at Lincoln Park High School. That was something stated during the summertime that could have been that was a very big issue in terms of information shared with the parents, information shared with the students, knowing what's going on with our particular classes. Now, these are just 6 or 7 types of ways that we have gone about doing that. Emails, phone calls, post-secondary calendar. We have those items. We've shared that with some of the groups here as well too. So we wanted to establish at least a timeline or a guideline for what the counselors are doing, and also to what I am doing to help assist them with that as well. So that's for the full year. If you want access to that, I think Mr. Steinmiller, we have a link for that as well too through this. The newsletter. Okay, see, right. So we have the newsletter and the marquee, the newsletters that come out on the 7th, well, not the 7th, every Sunday, with the principal's newsletter, and then also just the general newsletter for Lincoln Park High School. The marquee as well too. I already actually have something up there already for the college fair for the freshman, sophomore, and junior classes, March the 5th, and then also our junior post-secondary night. That's happening March the 19th. And also I created a post-secondary events calendar myself as well too. That's something I can share with parents as well, so that they can know what's going to be happening this upcoming spring. Some of these events are going to be determined, because some of these events are going to be run through the district, so in terms of understanding that. So they haven't shared with us what those times and dates are going to be for particular events that I may discuss. All right. But through these communications, bi-weekly district check-ins, I meet with my actual specialist every couple of weeks to discuss things that we need to do for Lincoln Park High School to help assist with students. The principal, myself, Mr. Steinmiller, will meet every 2 weeks this semester as well to kind of go over those same items. And then any more detailed information regarding the students themselves with each grade level. In-person meetings, I also provided a link for that, because I wanted to be sure that families and students have an ability to be able to make an appointment with me, either if they want to come in person or if it can become hybrid. Most of the counselors use You Can Book Me. I use that as well too, so that we can continue on with the same type of connection with the families and students, and how they want to meet and talk about their post-secondary plans, or just the plan of actually leading up to their senior year. Okay. Next would be the college connection, like the college fair, the college and career fair, the in-school college visits, the scholarships, FAFSA. That all can be also accessed through different links. But for right now, if you have a student here at our school, you can actually access that information with your students' information. So by logging in, they can ask for their login information, and you actually can show we can show like in detail, like where the college visits are, where the college, when the college fair is going to be happening, any FAFSA workshops that I'll have for the students throughout the week. So he already spoke about weekly, where we're going to have a person from ISAC. And that program helps usually, they send over a person that helps students with completing the FSAID and also the FAFSA as well too. So that's happening every Wednesday going forward for the next 2 or 3 months. Okay. And then prior to that, this first semester, from October to December, we had them actually creating their FSAIDs. Okay. Just so as an example. So that person that Ms. Powers, she actually presented today, and I wanted the students to actually be able to see who that person was, so that they can connect with her. We actually had some students stop by the office today, so that was also a plus. Okay. Lastly, the senior Google Classroom. So that in itself is providing students with all information in regards to anything that's happening for seniors that they need to know. I provided information for students based upon any scholarships that they were thinking about going into. This provides information about different events that are happening. I think it's a great way of connecting with the students as well. Also, it keeps all that information that I provided for them, at least in a structure, an organized structure, so that they can also see that, okay, they can go back to multiple tasks or even events or anything that they need for going forward in terms of graduation, or if there's going to be a FSAID workshop or a FAFSA completion workshop, I can list that information on there. All right. Now I will say this. We've asked the seniors this year, like, hey, actually in assembly, hey, did you how many people are connected to the senior Google Classroom? All of them raised their hand. How many of them checked it? There were as many hands. I know you did. I know you did. So you're good. All right. But that being said, that's something also continually we're trying to be sure that students are actually getting connecting and also checking this so that they know that, oh, okay, this is where I can find a scholarship. This is where I can receive help or supports from myself or anybody else within the counseling department. Okay. Yes.
Question on that. I have a few questions. I'll stick with the question just to that. Is there a way to also have parents have access to that? Because I
The
think,
senior Google Classroom?
yeah.
Okay,
Or
particularly?
whatever information is being shared, like particularly when my kid starts as a freshman, can
Okay.
I be in a Google Classroom that's sharing this information? Because I don't
Okay.
trust. I know that the goal is to prepare them for college,
Right.
and they're 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. So
The transfer of information isn't always
Yeah.
pure, right? Correct.
Yeah.
As having a son now, I'm not, and also looking forward to that moment. So I already know. But particularly, I know they actually have freshman, sophomore, junior Google Classrooms that are available through the counselors. So if that hasn't been shared with at all, then I definitely know that we can do that. Yes.
This question, I'm now looking at the web, right? And this is general information that actually would be good to know how school is approaching the information. So isn't it, and what you described is at the end of the day, set of events, right? You have how many events that are communicating information with students? Could it be somehow also presented as a website that we could learn about that? Is the same
On
question. So more of us know about what school is doing about.
So on the actual Lincoln Park okay.
And I see here counseling corner, and then in counseling corner, at the end of it, I see evening presentations, college and careers. So if I open college and careers, I have 404 error, which is fine. But I think it's a good.
Okay, so thank you. I have, okay.
I would say, one thing I would maybe ask, hold off on some of the questions, because I think some of the things you're asking are going to be answered.
Okay,
So
I
some of the
didn't know if he was pausing.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
there's three we're gonna talk about communication, we're gonna talk about the data.
Yeah.
Then the action items, I think what you're alluding to.
Those are going to be
some
part of the action items.
items.
Okay, great question. So we're going to get back to that. All right. You can go to the next slide.
And I know that also you do college visits. Do we have any visits today?
No, we did, yes. So there was 2 student ambassadors that came from Yale to talk with some of our rising juniors. That was just a spur of the moment type of event because those students reached out to me during actual Christmas break. So I quickly try to turn that over where I can actually invite seniors, juniors actually this week. And we actually had 2 or 3 kids show up, but at the same time, this student reached out to me literally the week before we started the second semester. So that's how things go. That sometimes happens. I'm actually being a former college recruiter, the student ambassadors or the colleges themselves, sometimes they don't reach out when you want them to. That is just how things go, being very honest.
There's regular rotation. I see communication go from Mr. Gallen to the counselors. I'll work with our students to try to work out if possible. Often very try to get in front of it so students come in. Those are things that we're trying to improve upon. We'll talk about that later, but increased representation.
Let me just jump in really quickly. You have that big whiteboard that is out, or the white, what you say, like the trifold thing.
Trifold, yeah.
That I can't remember if you've done or not, but we've always had like day after day, the other college career coach would have the schools that were going to be there, and right underneath at the time that they were coming every day that was updated.
Gotcha.
And it was actually really, I mean, students are walking by there all the time. So it was so helpful for us as teachers to see that too. I know that I've mentioned that before. It sounds so, old school.
No,
but it's right there on your face every day that you're walking by, right? DePaul, 11 o'clock, Yale, 2 o'clock or
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I'm just saying it was really effective.
Gotcha.
Old
And,
school.
and I'll
Old
also,
school Mark.
It's usually more effective.
and I'll actually even, I'll add to that as well too, like, going forward and, knowing that, just talking about the college visits particularly, being able to share the information through the general chat. And I know we had trying to add teachers to the chat that we have that's internal with our school and sharing that information. I thought it would be an easier way to share that information and then directly email the teachers like, hey, these are the students that are going to be actually coming from your class, so we can alleviate tardies or no absences from the classes so that they know that so that I'd like to do.
Nice to see it, you know, and
Okay.
you did do a good job of reaching out to us, and I really appreciate that.
That's
It's always nice to say, I know, we're trying to troubleshoot a lot of.
yeah. And just also too, like figuring out what's the right thing to be able to help whichever the teachers or administrators like, hey, this is what's going on. So, but I'll take that. Obviously, I will say this: we're also hosting college visits in the spring as well too. So I'll keep that in mind. And okay. So next slide would be our data points in terms of information. If you can click on the tool to kind of explain what we're going to be talking about. Okay. So this application analysis tool is something that CPS or the district is created so that we can actually see information based upon our senior class in terms of how many applications in total that they've applied. So it can be individual, it can be subgroup, it can be by college. So for example, you see where we have the most applications from or the most applications to certain types of schools right now, which I call Lincoln Park Light. University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, we have 184 applications, for example. Okay. All right. So this tool, really appreciate my specialist for sharing this information with me and then being able to pull certain reports from school links and other systems that we use internally to be able to show where students are applying to and then also to the numbers of applications that are going to school. So you get a chance to actually see the types of schools that students are applying to. 90% of our students from the past year were thinking of a 2-year or 4-year institution. This shows that similar information that from those students, similar to this, in terms of the schools that they're applying and thinking of going to. Okay.
don't have access to
So no, that's,
There's a
Yeah.
It has student information. in it.
Yeah.
So where you see all the, why it's a copy of the original tool, we made a copy so that we could put the black over student. And so technically if you had access, you would have access to the student. But this is the tool that when Mr. Young and I meet on Mondays, this is where we're looking at, trying to compare and see how we're moving this progress. So it's a way to progress monitor success. I think he'll talk about that with some of the data points that we've been paying attention to. But yeah.
Can you just copy those? I'm just curious, like where our students are applying. That would be
300 something, 300 different schools.
and also to keep in mind, like this data probably changed today. So this is something that's going to be sent from my specialist each week. So this will be a constant change. This information will be updated. So for myself, Mr. And Mr. Steinmiller, we'll be going through this information bi-weekly. So that report will always change. Yeah.
It's the biggest, you know, at the end of the year,
Yeah.
The positions.
Yeah.
I mean, just once a year before the year starts.
Okay.
Only once.
Mhm.
If it's,
Like just to know like where the students have applied or just knowing that information.
Yeah,
These tools, like
It's important information, for parents,
Oh, yeah.
prospective
Yeah,
parents.
but
to know.
parents were very interested in that, and
Okay.
it's great for us to be able to promote the school too.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll quickly on this point, like just so you can get to the data part, but these are the tools that we engage with. He'll talk about some of this data, but it goes all the way to racial group breakdown, competitive level comparison, DL status, EL status, targeted. This you see is almost entirely blacked out because this is heavy on progress monitoring for students, like students with no submission, students with affordable indicators. He'll talk about in a minute, match fit. So this is a way for us to progress monitor every single scene. It's a really, so I really appreciate the work that Mr. Young has been doing, engaging with this, to be paying attention to every single student. But I'll go back to the slide.
Yes. Yeah.
You get that from school links though, right? Don't they pull all that data?
So
for you?
one of the reports is pulled from school links and there's another report pulled from another system. just so I can clarify that. Okay. So, but this honestly, that tool helps me a lot in terms of just being able to contact students through counselors, or then also myself, like, hey, we need to have a meeting right now in terms of talking about, hey, you don't have any applications on file. Is there a misstep in connecting systems? Right now, we're figuring out a new system called Schooling. So for us, as a college and career coach and the counselors, we've been going to different professional developments throughout the summer and also during this current school year to be able to be more familiar with that system. So, okay. So these are areas of focus that we wanted to have, that we wanted to talk about in terms of today. So one being FAFSA, 1+ apps, 1+ match and fit applications, 3+ applications, absolute affordability, acceptance to college, learn, plan, succeed, enrollment for our past graduating class from 2023, and then our class from 2022. Okay. For the starters, for FAFSA, that has been all interesting in itself this current year. That has no data right now because students are currently right now applying to that. Any information regarding FAFSA will be reported through the dashboard tool that we have internally that we use. So from there, I'll be able to see kind of but I will be able to see who actually has completed their FAFSA form, or who actually has waived their right to actually even want to go into the FAFSA, or if they've been chosen for verification. So there's a lot to it that I have to decipher through. Okay, so I try not to go into too much detail, but that in itself, that's why there's no data right there, because we don't have any students who've completed it. We're still in the process of. All right. What questions about that? Okay, I just want to be sure. All right. 1+ app. So right now, currently, well, this is from data from yesterday. Right now, we have 76.8% of students who have at least one application on file. And this I will explain in terms of students who use. We use two systems. SchoolLinks is the system that replaced Naviance. Common App is the system that they use. It's like a one-stop shop where they actually are putting all their schools that they're applying to, fee waivers, FERPA form, anything, a college, they're actually adding their applications to that. Those two systems talk to each other. So then when they do connect the systems, then we can see what applications they actually have on file. So that's what, in terms of what you were asking about the information, that's where we will pull that data. CPS has made it aware that we needed to actually have a specific report to pull that information so that that number will be available. 1+ match and fit. So this is based upon their academic profile, the SAT, their actual grades in terms of a school that actually matches up with their academic profile or where they want to go. So if a student wanted to go, if a student's at a 3.0 GPA and if they wanted to go to Elmhurst, I went there. That's why I bring the school up. That school, if I was a student here at Lincoln Park, that school would be a match for me. If it was if I was thinking of any other schools in terms of like match and fit, a far reach school would be for Northwestern. A reach school would be Loyola. A school that would be a little underneath or under a match for me would be the city colleges or the directional school. So that 1+ match and fit, that's something that I'm monitoring because I want to be sure that students are applying to schools that fit their actual academic profile. That'd be right for them. Okay.
You'll see, we've been really focusing on match fit, not just an application. That's a graduation requirement. It's like they'll do that as a task. We wanted to make sure it's a match fit, and that's a shift in our CIWP and the key priority. It's not just about an application; it's about a match fit application.
Yeah.
So we know within applications, we're paying attention to also program applications. 92% of our students go to 2-year or 4-year colleges. We want to make sure that they're going somewhere else. That there is an application for that as well. But that's focusing on match fit.
Next, 3+ applications. So that's just from our current class, how many students we actually have that have 3 or more apps currently on file. Apps with affordability indicators. So students are applying to schools that they actually can be able to attend and be able to actually afford and go to. All right. Students accepted to college. That number is around 32%. That's to be very honest, that's based on the students who've gone ED, early decision or early action. They are actually receiving their acceptance letters right now. Students who are applying regular decision, they're going to be receiving that later on, February, March, just to be clear. So that number will jump tremendously. Okay. So if you see it as a low number now, leave the interpretation out of that.
That's
it.
actually pretty big for early. That shows how many kids are doing
Yeah,
early action
Yeah,
these
yeah.
days. And
it's to their
I just-
benefits.
yeah, but some say it's not, and that's always the weird thing.
Well, I don't think it is. Well, that's a whole nother
Yeah,
discussion.
right,
From
it
the-
is. I won't go there.
It's
It's
a
just,
philosophical.
that's just that's a big number.
Yeah, but I mean, I knew coming into the school,
Yeah.
I've been to the college fair as a college recruiter. I knew the type of student that I was going to come and work with here. So I kind of knew
Right.
that number was, or the type of students are going to be applying for early decisions. Yeah.
Mr. Young, just to clarify, there are students who have been accepted who did not apply ED. So that number, are you saying it's only ED or it just includes ED too?
It includes ED,
Okay.
and EA students. So
Okay.
regular decision students haven't received like any of their actually acceptance letters. They're actually waiting to hear back. So for example, students who are applying to UIUC, Urbana-Champaign, I know there's a decision coming on January 26th. So that's going to, in a couple of weeks, that number could.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
and also rolling admission schools too.
Right.
Yeah.
So rolling admissions will be included in that 30-some%.
It will be, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it
Okay.
will be, but
Great.
just that number, that data hasn't been given yet because those students are still waiting on that information.
Okay. But some people have received admission
Yes.
so far.
Yes.
And they're in there. Cause I'm just saying, I don't know that it's 1/3 are ED, like
No.
33.
No. No, this is all.
Okay. Just clarifying it. Thank you.
No problem.
It's a percentage
Sorry about
of
that.
the
yeah.
30.
I just wanted to understand. I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And the data you see for SY 23, that's that was from May 30th. So some of the data actually is better than it's just we get a specific report. They graduate. Here's the final report. Because when I say 92% are going to college, but our college acceptance rate is 82.8, we continue to work with our students over the summer. They're just not considered a part of our quote data. It would be like public data, but we still work with our students with online support over the course of the summer to get. So that's why you see the ads of 5. And then the only two areas in which there's continual data improvement or focus is the enrollment.
Persistence data.
Off to the right, you see kind of our goals as we're focusing on our current data versus our SY 23 versus goals. Mr. Young has been really consistent about that. So and also smashing. And I really appreciate that kind of vision.
Just the last three areas, in terms of what to speak about, learn, plan, succeed. That number will be to be determined because the seniors, when they make their decisions, will start to happen around mid-March. Some students already know actually where they're going. So thank you. But then also too, that information is going to become more available in the month and later in March, also in the month of April. And the reason why, because CPS is going to be sending out information saying, hey, students should be making their selections on schools. That doesn't always happen. I can tell you that just from previous experience for students who are just, if they're unsure, if they're receiving their decision letters, if they haven't received their financial aid award letters, they may wait to actually make a decision even after May 1st. So that information won't be determined until maybe the month of April, just so you know. Okay. Enrollment, enrollment for the graduating class of 2023. So this past graduating class. All right. Right now we're at 85.9%. So those students are actually current freshmen right now. That number is actually going to jump because CPS gave us the ability to be able to check in with those students. We still have their email addresses for CPS are available for the full year after they graduate. So I go out and I contact them. It's like maybe over 400 students that I contact, and I will get information back saying, oh, hey, I'm just checking in to see how you're doing. If you need any update, you want to update me on anything in terms of a change, did you transfer? Do you need another transcript? Are you looking to go to work during the Christmas break? Anything like that, I try to connect with them. It's myself and our librarian, Miss Chinapa. So there's only two people doing this alumni work. And then on top of that, I'm doing this during the summer, kind of sort of by myself with her as well too. So, but it helps because we get a chance to see what students are doing. If they need assistance further. So for example, last summer, if any student was struggling with, oh, I'm not sure about going to the school. Actually, I don't want to go to the school at all. Then we try to consider their other options that they may have. Okay. So it's all good. It's all in terms of reaching out. For me, it helps me connect more with the students, and also too, if they need help, anything going forward, I also connect with them.
And I want to highlight this work, this focus, and this is the importance. For the last 2 to 3 years, we've been intentional about having summer alumni support for our students to help with making sure they enroll and they persist. Because that's our goal. Our students to graduate, want them to enroll and to persist, and they need sometimes help with that. And so all of this data is actually sort of linked to each other, and I want to it's really important. We've added a new indicator to it, which is the affordability indicator, because sometimes why students are not enrolling, they can't afford the schools they've actually been accepted to. And so we've added that as something for us to pay attention to, that students are applying to schools they can actually afford to enroll in. And again, that's been consistently for the last numerous years is a reason why some students don't go on. And so we're paying attention to that to make sure that that's one thing that they have in their pocket is a school that they can afford. And so you can see this kind of domino. That's why we don't have any data really from last year for that, because it's a new thing. That is a part of our CIWP, and that's something we were committed to focus on. That's why you can see some significant progress. Things that I want to highlight in this that Mr. Young's been working on, you see that one of our goals was 70%. It was a new indicator. We're actually getting to it really quickly. And some of the other areas, even within like the match fit, we're making a lot of progress. So 3 applications is we're a couple percentage points from that. We still have half a year. I mean, there's still a lot of time. So when we talk about progress monitoring of work, we're making some significant shifts toward this. I want to highlight the enrollment and persistence during the state of the school. It's something I was really excited about. It's something we should continue to be excited about because we're already at 85.9 and 87. They give us a list of the students in which they don't know are enrolled. We know they're enrolled. I know students at Johns Hopkins right now.
Yeah.
He's not on the list. It's showing that he didn't enroll. I know he is. He came and visited even today, or yesterday.
Yesterday.
And so we know where the students are. So we're going to update that. That's actually a data quality issue, and so I could easily see our goal is 89.7. And just recall our highest we've ever had was 88.6. And so these are the things that we have been focusing on for several years. Same thing with persistence. This is where then, like last year at 89, our highest was 90.4. Our goal is 90.1. There's a ratio that we're looking at of where our last year's data was. It's like a minus 100 plus 10%, so it's like 1 point something. It's something that.
And also, for example, we sent out a survey to for the last year for the seniors. We sent out a survey to ask them what school are you going to be going to, where do we need to send the final transcript, and they completed that. And what we did is we collected all the data from that. So we saw all the schools that they were attending, and a lot of those names. Well, for that senior class, we can actually update that number for enrollment for the previous class, and that's something that I'm working on for the rest of this semester.
And then going back, this was the slide that was at state of the school. So you could see that being at 85.9 and 87 right now is just also a real accomplishment. If that was just our final data, it was 85.9 and 87. I mean, you could look at some of the trends over time. The 85 would be, what our fourth highest in 14 years. And that's not with updating the information. So we have a challenge going of just smashing, right? Like just destroying. So we can keep working on it. And excited about interacting to be able to do that. Yeah. So that's where I wanted to celebrate what Mr. Young is doing.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of hard work.
I appreciate Mr. Steinmiller's competitiveness. I am as well competitive as well too. So that energy is very matched. All right. So thank you. All right. Go to the next slide. All right. So these are just some action plan steps. This list can also evolve as well too, but these are just some things that I was thinking of in terms of going forward for the rest of the semester. I will add on there writing the colleges on the board. So that's something that I will definitely consider going forward doing. But these are just some items, app sessions with students who don't have any on file. Classroom visits. I will be visiting the classrooms this upcoming spring in the month of February to kind of talk with students, give them reminders, talk about FAFSA. I say usually I did coach football in the fall, but now in the spring, I'll be able to stay a little bit longer and help students after school. During school, I usually help students during their lunch periods. If it's during a particular class, I send them back because I want them to go to their class. But if it's something that's if it's an emergency, I will talk with them and then send them back to class. Okay. FAFSA completion sessions. I actually myself and my the person I work with through ISAC who helps with the FAFSA, we today just came up with some dates that are going to be in person and hybrid so that we can be sure that we meet the needs of the students and families who are trying to complete the FAFSA. Any type of support in regard to that is going to be it's going to be major. And the reason why I say that because of what we're going to be doing like on Saturdays and some evenings. Okay. One-on-one meetings with students in school. So I kind of touched on that, and also hybrid meetings. I actually had a parent reach out to me today stating that they wanted to meet with me and their student who's a junior in regard to talking about their for the build up for their senior year in terms of scholarship and thinking of colleges, anything of that nature. I had her say, hey, just schedule this appointment. We can do it in person, or if you want to do it actually through a Google Meet, we can do that. So that I've offered that so that parents can also be engaged. I'm emailing parents personally myself through a mail merge so that they can understand, hey, this is what's actually happening. This is what I'm telling the students in terms of what they need to accomplish. Alumni support winter and summer. So that's something myself and the librarian currently right now, we are in the middle of as we speak. So we're talking with the seniors who graduated this past year and also to the previous year in 22. She tried to call as many of the students from 2022. I email or contact any of the students from the prior years that. Two things that I know will be something that I'm going to continuously work on is additional partnerships with the school. I'm just one person. I always love, I have no ego. I want to be able to collaborate with as many people as possible so that we can see the overall success with students no matter what level, and then also increase parent engagement. So bringing up the website, having events or anything or information being available to you so that you know what's going on at the school. That's something that we're developing and continuing on right now. So for myself, there are multiple projects that I am getting to, but primarily right now, I can just tell you, just trying to get the seniors to complete the FAFSA is one goal in itself. So.
Question, I don't want to be too long. It's very, very
Okay.
important.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I ran long.
It's very interesting. So in your observation, what would be the main constraint or problem for the students to decide? They don't know, they don't have a clue what they're going to do in their lives. They think they don't have enough money to continue with education. They don't have interest in general. They are very, very problematic with the bureaucratic complexity of the whole situation. So what's the biggest problem?
Okay. I'm trying to understand. Like the biggest problem with students trying to
get 100% people getting to colleges, right?
Yeah.
That-
Well, yeah, yes.
So why is that not happening? I mean, and are there different group of students with different set of problems?
I can hop in that a little. I think it's this.
Yeah, you beat.
It's a mix of things that, and this is a trend over a variety of schools. It's students not applying to match fit schools. So they apply to if everybody at our school applied to Harvard, 70%, but 80% of our students would not get it.
And not.
Right. And so whatever the rate is, I don't know. Maybe I'm being excited. No, I'm talking about just on averages, right?
Metaphorically speaking.
Right. So what we have to do is so it starts with this. One, we have to make sure that students, this is when I say 6-year process. This is where we start welcoming our 8th graders and our freshman classes. That's why we have counselors going in and talking about the 4 years, what is going on. It's why we start these conversations really, really early. Because a lot of what you see is, number one, people just aren't informed. Parents aren't informed. Students aren't informed. We do have a lot of families who have experience, who at least can talk about the process because they've experienced that. That doesn't apply to all of our families. So a lot of this is about information communication, but then we start going through this. It's got to be match fit, because if you don't have a match fit, then you could fall through the cracks. If we added the applications, it gives you multiple options so that you're not just putting all your money on one school. It's affordability, because that's a huge indicator why students don't move on. They can't afford it, or they go, I'm going to give a gap year or 2 years because I need to raise up money, or I'm going to go to community college, but I don't have math credit, and then they end up dropping out. So these things are all kind of like lined up. They don't have support, alumni summer support. Sometimes they don't know who to talk to about what does it mean to go to college? How do I get there? Illinois, like Champaign seems like millions of miles away to some students. They got in, they don't know, they don't literally have a vehicle to get them from A to B. How do we help them do that? These are the variety of things that he is juggling within this work to balance that for each and every student.
There are a lot of special circumstances with individual families and students. So I try to, as much as possible, understand the context of that individual family or student so that they can make the best decision possible. But sometimes not everybody's committed within their structure of family to maybe higher education. So I can also, I say that because I'm just thinking about the way that I approached it. My parents, or in terms of pushing me, not every parent pushes their students to want to go to school. So
It's also interesting to talk about the future. How do they see their future? You know, because it exactly goes with what you said. I mean, let's not talk about the fact that people are bored, right? For this stuff, but it is the fact.
Yeah.
For many. But in a way, it's also good to motivate them.
Of course.
I think you're doing a great work working with them all the time. But it's also about the narrative that you.
motivation is one of the keys, and I try to help them understand like there is a will. If there's a will, there's a way, but also too trying to be able to build that confidence for them to be self-advocates for themselves.
All right, 2 comments over here. I think
Yeah, I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Sepulveda, Kaler, Kessler. I don't know who. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
You go. I just the organization. It's just real quick. Does the school know how many first generation college students we have at the school? Like roughly? Statistics or anything?
That I am not sure. I don't think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be something that if I can find data on that, I will talk with my specialist. But sometimes when it comes to particular things like that, yeah. See that, and that's the thing. Like that's yeah, get that because I was a part of that group, so that's why I know. Yeah, I was.
Last question.
Okay.
How do you?
Sasha, we want to go through over here first.
Okay, but I'll make sure you put the microphone by you too, so people can hear you.
How do you contact colleges? What I mean, very concrete question. Do you have Illinois IIT? Is it on your list? How do you contact colleges?
How do I
to talk?
contact
Yeah,
schools?
Yeah.
So
Are they all?
a lot of them are my former friends, seeing as how I was a college recruiter for the past 10 years prior to me even working for CPS. And then 2, I have 2 programs or 2 actually organizations I work with, IAC and CAR. CAR is the Chicago what's it stand for? College counselors who are Chicago regional counselors, and they have a list or a database that I can pull, and I have all their email addresses. I literally send them all direct messages saying, "Hey, can you come to school?" So that's kind of how I go about it. Direct.
Do you need help with some?
Do I what now?
Do you need help with some? I work at IT. Do you need connections for some colleges and admissions?
I welcome all the help. So yes.
All right.
So
Yes.
yeah, if you have a way, and also too, like that's why it's helpful. Like I have no ego. I want it to be a shared responsibility. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Kaler, did you have?
Yeah, I've a couple of points and I think a question of something that we could do. Because I think many of our students are motivated, but they also are completely overwhelmed, as are their parents that are supposed to guide them in terms of the money. I mean, it's overwhelming, and it's shut down. And the match fit is important, but I think also important is because you have to navigate the system and you have to work the system, right? There's nothing wrong with having students choose safety schools as well, because safety schools, not just because it's a safety, but because they could get money, those schools want them, rather than if it's a match, they may not get any money. So I guess my point is, I'm not saying you don't do that, but not every student knows that. And like you said, they may get accepted into Northwestern or may want to go to New York University. There's no way they're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe then a SUNY school right in New York. That's not my point. I think what we used to do, just one last question, then tell me.
Okay.
What we used to do, and I know you're so tired of hearing this, but I know you're open. Miss Rucker, the IBDPs, and I know, we were just an efficient oiled machine. Miss Rucker used to get paid over the summer to sit with parents and their junior coming into senior year student. And she's so skilled at this. I'm not saying you're not. And she would sit with each one and go over all of these issues, right? As a student saying, I want to do this. And of course, a parent never wants to say, no, you can't. You know, Rucker would step in and say, you know, let's rethink this here. So she's going over finances. She's going over even international schools. We used to have a good group of kids that would go to University of Maastricht is $10,000 a year for American students. I mean, that's an option for kids. Anyway, my point is that with this OST, I don't know why that went away. Rucker said nobody wants to pay for it anymore. Is it possible with OST funds, Dr. Steinmiller, that in the month of June or July, that counselors are getting paid to meet with parents and their student to go over safety, match, reach? And it's such a valuable.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, this is actually,
can't answer
that's the right question to ask, like as an LSC. In April, we'll go through budget, right? We have use of fees and things that we can prioritize. One of one of the most instrumental things to achieve the outcomes that we have been doing is the alumni support, right? It's what Mrs. G and what you've been doing during the summer to monitor our students. That's for graduating seniors. But what if we get even further in front of it to help students over the course of their junior year to their senior? I think it's a wonderful idea. We could think about what that could look like. That's something I think, one thing that's not on here. I know that Mr. Young's been working on like an idea of a post-secondary team, and it's got some people that have been going to some PDs and professional learning. That those are some concepts of like additional solutions. I think that recommendation is a really good one, and we can talk about that in our check-in.
Yeah, they can get paid a couple more weeks, maybe, you
Yeah.
know, over the summer.
That'll be a very interesting conversation.
I
Thank you.
actually, oh.
Miss Semnick,
Sorry,
go ahead.
sorry.
Oh, Mr. Kessler's next. You're going to defer to the.
So I get, you go a long way.
But they're not yours. Yeah.
I have a couple questions. One, why do we wait until senior year to start a lot of this? To me, all of this should be starting really sophomore year, but I think when we're thinking about involvement in clubs and sports and leadership and these things, senior year, it's done. You're done. It's too late. These kids need to be spoken to freshman year.
I didn't get it. I was thinking they're for talking to someone. So that's too late. Yeah.
Yeah. And junior year, why are we even waiting till the summer? Why are they not meeting with their counselor? It doesn't necessarily have to be their college counselor, but I feel like shouldn't all counselors be educated enough to maybe not, maybe they don't know this, but maybe this is something we want to think about as an LSC is, do we invest in getting a handful of our counselors trained in this, that then they're meeting with kids in September of their junior year to say, okay, this is the year you got to put the pedal to the metal. If you're thinking you want to go to Harvard, like you senior year, you're done. So I think we're missing the boat here if we're focusing on seniors.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
the parents need to be a part of this experience.
I was gonna say, I feel like for us, it was an exception because we were like in the pandemic, so we were online. But I think that there's definitely a way that during assemblies, even because I know we're bringing back in-person assemblies, that we could slowly mention like, here are small things you can do to start preparing. Because I feel like for me, I have an older sibling, so I was a little more prepared, I would say. But I do think there were still so many questions I had and so many things that I didn't really get the chance to be involved until my sophomore year or the end of my freshman year. because I didn't even know that certain things existed. So I think if we welcome that very early into freshman year, that could be really beneficial.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that there would even be an opportunity to have like these more like higher level conversations, like even like during times like when you come into a classroom to give like a presentation, like just like a really short introductory, like, yes, these are the sort of things that you should do. And then that also just opens the door for more like one-on-one opportunities. That's a little bit more.
And I
personalized.
totally understand and agree with you
Mhm.
both on that. Now, just for me, just trying to come in the middle of this whole entire, I
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
even
that's-
there. Like,
oh, I
I know an
completely
example.
understand.
Like, I wasn't there in the beginning for you all to kind of develop this out, but this is something that, for me personally, I was one of those kids that weren't aware of sometimes all the options. And I went to De La Salle, so that was for me meeting with a counselor or meeting with a brother that was a counselor, explaining to me what kind of things that I could do. I didn't get that training. So for me now, that's why I'm in this role, to be able to do that for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. So I get that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yes, 2,000 kids, one man. Yeah, 2,000 kids, one man. Yeah.
Well, I'm as a next step and kind of to make this actionable, and I'm just going to and also potentially transition.
Yeah.
Mr. Young and I meet every other Monday. And then we can, obviously with our time can be a little bit more flexible. We're open to anybody participating in some of those conversations. Some of those are check-ins and we're talking about student specific, but I think as he's putting together professional, like a post-secondary team, welcoming some experiences that so many people in this room have that want to be a part of it, I think is more than welcome. I think we're getting a good foundation. These
Right.
ideas are right on. They will lead to conversations that we will need to discuss during our budget. And we talk about counselors, like we're now at a point in which we have, 7 counselors once one comes back from leave. But if you think about the amount of their caseload of students are over 300 students. If Mr. Young were to meet with every senior for an hour, it would take him 77 days. And so we have to think about, to be able to I think these are great recommendations. I think we need to do that almost not a subcommittee, but within the post-secondary team to talk about how can we get those resources? Because even with 7 counselors, let's say we get to 8 counselors, we had a new counselor, there's only, we're at 250 students per counselor to provide these supports. And so he's got 434.
430 seniors right now. That's what you're talking about?
So that's like, so we just think about the time. So we have to think about those. And I think this isn't the space for it. So I want to table it for not table it, but not,
But but you're
bring it to
agree,
Mr. Young's
I agree.
work
Yeah.
with post-secondary.
And next year, the number of seniors is going to move to what?
500 and
30 something.
I'm so excited.
But Dr. Steinmiller, we had a small group
Yeah.
that met. So we need to circle back to Gary and
Duhan.
Mark Duhan. I think you were in connection with him and you've done some work. with him.
I'm going to reach back out to him, but it's just like when we were trying to connect this particular fall, like it just in terms of timing, that didn't work. So he has a program where he talks to rising juniors. I can have him come back and talk with those rising juniors.
Yeah, so I think that we need to revisit that group. And if you guys have a standing time, then people can be invited to that standing time.
Yeah. But I definitely, I understand your idea of that. So, but that's something that we're trying to develop.
Yeah. And to just one other point on that, I think what would be helpful for us or for certainly that group, what's your list of asks? Like waving a magic wand, what would you like? Someone else to do the summer alumni follow-ups or fall alumni follow-ups or whatever it might be, because there are people in the community who maybe have expertise, like Mark Duhan has a really targeted demographic of kids has expertise in. There are other segments that maybe people could help with, or programmatic support. Just that way we at least know,
Right.
Because we don't want you just, working in a corner and with Dr. Steinmiller, but like bring the problems to us. Not that we can solve, but our awareness, if we're aware, it's a better chance we could maybe do something.
Gotcha.
So
I'm also going to say we keep having these focus groups all the time and these groups that come together, and that's wonderful. I just want somebody to pull the trigger on things sometimes and say, okay, great idea. I think that the junior or that the counselor should meet with the juniors and their parents. Maybe we can offer some money for them. That's one little thing that we can do right now, right? We don't have to figure out everything, but or why aren't the counselors reaching out to junior parents and saying, these are my office hours to sit and meet specifically for schools, right? I mean, I'm not bashing the counselors. Maybe they are doing that. That's not what I'm trying to say. But that you maybe as an administrator say, this is key right now, right? The month of March, this is what you're going to do. Anyway, that's all
and
my.
and I think we can definitely improve these processes. And what he had in the check-in, we didn't click the link. He checks in the count with the counselors every Tuesday, and they are a part of the process of supporting the individual students. So when we go through like, hey, where are our students that we're worried about? He is working with counselors to do that, but they're focusing on some of the students that we're really missing. And that's not the full, if we have 430 students, we should have supports for 430 students. It tends to be the students who aren't applying or haven't found match fit or aren't doing those things. But
That's not always fair either, though. I
Yeah.
think those kids that are applying do
Yep,
care.
agree.
And that's the majority of our
Yeah.
kids. Those parents need support too.
Yep. Totally, I'm heard. I think these recommendations are really helpful. If you have I would say if you have any other thoughts, ideas too, please send it to them. Because that's part of the post-secondary team that does include teachers, that they are trying to brainstorm some of these solutions. He is the leader in this work, and he's the one I connect with directly to do it. But I just personally want to say I appreciate you presenting and sharing all this information and putting this together. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Young, for coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Young. It's an amazing amount of work that you're
Mr.
doing.
Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Kendrick, we'll be talking soon.
Yes, for sure. I was gonna say I'd like to come to one of the Monday meetings. So yeah,
Okay.
sounds great. Thanks so
All
much,
right.
Mr. Young.
And I'd also like to add on there, can we track?
Just one.
Can't hear.
All right. Alicia. Okay, Alicia, could you say something? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, can we also track those that are going to, not necessarily college, but they're going to a trade school, or maybe they're starting up a business, they have other ideas rather than just college? Can those also be
Yeah.
tracked?
Mr. Young, could you just listen one second? Sorry, Aunt Alexander. Alicia was just saying that she's also interested to hear about our plans for the non-college going seniors. Okay, so vocational, starting a business, whatever. And maybe that could be next month if you want to come talk about that. You don't have to.
Yeah, because I was going to say like that's
Yeah.
a whole nother category in itself. And I can tell you now, just data from last year, only 9% of those students who wanted to go to a trade, the military, or just work right out of school. So the plan of action, that is I'm not going to say broad, but also too, any idea with those students, even if I invite those programs out or myself taking those kids who are interested in that, let's say, I'll even give you this example. Attacking those students, I have there's a district college, district STEM fair that CPS is actually hosting. I took a group of students who are interested in those areas, construction, metalwork. They actually have some of those college and career, those career fairs or spotlights happening this semester. That's something that I'll be able to help with those students if they're interested in that area, to be able to have them come on those trips. So that plan, it's actually being developed out right now as we speak too.
And I can say last year, there were 12 students that Mr. Young was supporting go directly into work. There were 3 students who went specifically into a trade. There was 1 student that military specific. There are students who go into military, but military academies are it's just a very different plan. There's 1 gap year, 1 apprenticeship. 3 students went into a transitional program that tends to be students with IEPs that are extending on time. They're still counted as not being they're graduating out of Lincoln Park. And then we have 13 that also would be like IEPs and different things so part of our 92% is actually not accurate. It's accurate by the total graduation population. We actually some of the students are transitioning into very specific needs, but that's our data. Those are our students. And so there is a plan for each of those students as we're looking at it, and we can say it to the number of students that we're focusing on, how we're supporting them,
Yep.
And we pay attention.
Sometimes it's just like a case-by-case basis as well too. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alicia, I was just trying to bring up your question up to speed. Was there anything else you wanted to mention, or does that address it for now?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks, Mr. Young. Really appreciate it. Okay. Dr. Steinmiller, over to you.
The old business, new business.
Yeah.
I had the old business. I would like to bring back from the table. I would like to move to bring from the table the vote for the NHS funds. The $20 goes directly to student fees for NHS. That's their individual student enrollment in NHS. So I would like to move to approve the fee for this individual student fee of $20 so that they have their individual enrollment as a member.
And then they get, I was reading through too. And then they get a stole with that. I mean, they get their membership and like their card, but fine. But then they get a stole with that and then a t-shirt. Do you know? I mean, I'm wondering what comes with that because I was
Still
looking
not
at
sure
it.
about the t-shirt, but
Okay, whatever. I hear you. Okay,
Okay.
that's great.
So you're comfortable with making that?
That's
Any other discussion? Okay.
I just wasn't clear with
No, I appreciate the clarification. I feel better about it too. So you would like to make a motion to,
I move to approve the fee of $20 for our NHS membership for students.
okay. Is there a second? Okay, Ms. Zemnick, all those in favor? Alicia, Paul, I'm assuming your thumbs up. Yes.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Unanimously approved. I will let Mr. Smith know for the minutes. Thanks, Dr. Steinmiller.
Yep.
Anything else on the business front?
That is it.
Okay. Athletics update. You want to
All
provide
right.
that?
We currently are interviewing literally like now, or now-ish. We had numerous candidates, I believe over 44 candidates who have applied. We narrowed it down to about 9 for our initial interviews before the holiday break. Got initial feedback from from groups that includes coaches, parents, community members, staff members who have some experience in the evaluation process. They participated in almost 5 hours of interviews. We have really great candidates. It's very exciting. And even checking in with some of the people who are participating in it, we're just excited about the opportunities. Some people who have experience as athletic directors in the suburbs, and have done this role before. We had set criteria. Ms. Theus has been leading this work. That's why she again is not here today. There are 3 more. There are more, but 3 really quality applications or resumes came through over the holiday break. Instead of just dismissing it because we were in a process, she set those up for today to be able to do those interviews. See if if they are the candidates we want to continue into the next round. The next round will be next Tuesday or Wednesday, which will be in person, very similar to our basketball coach, where it'll have different sessions that the candidates will go through. The final one being a one-on-one with me. I've sort of not distanced myself from the interviews, but I've been watching I haven't been asking the questions. I've been looking at the videos and but I really want to hear from the committee and group and their perspective of who the top candidates are. So I'm very excited about it. There are 3 or 4 that I think actually the hard part about this is who's the best one of a really good pool. Again, we anticipate on extending the offer next week, so that we should have that resolved. So that's it from the AD standpoint. We do have 3 vacancies for positions that we have now applications. I want to thank our alderman he's been publicizing these positions. That's actually where I'm hearing most of it. Some of the applications are coming through the 43rd Ward saying, hey, I've heard about this from the alderman's newsletter. So we have interest in our tennis, our lacrosse, and badminton positions. We even have some parents, and then also a couple have actually come from our newsletter too. Of just we have a grandparent and a couple of parents who are also interested in supporting. So we have a pool that we're going to be working with. We are preparing a backup just in case because of lacrosse. We were so worried about it. I have until February 1st to co-op lacrosse. We have such a large interest of students that it's just really, to me, pertinent that we find a coach to do it here. I think we have 19, I forget if it was boys or girls, but and we should be able to. We need to do that, and I believe we have some candidates for it. That'll be my next steps. Is I'll be supporting the hiring of those individuals and bringing them on board hopefully by next week, so that we can get everything addressed with that. Miss Walker and Miss Theus have been monitoring again student eligibility, preparing for spring, getting some of the plans. Buses have been all, ordered for the winter, preparing for the spring, having those things laid out, monitoring our coaches, any coach that we currently have in our hire. I'm working directly with IHSA to make sure that they have followed all of the protocols needed, CPR training, also cleaning the data. We have about 45 people who are showing as being ineligible coaches. They were coaches 5 years ago that I just haven't cleaned that of IHSA. So I'm just doing a lot of data quality and cleaning it up so that we know who our current teachers are, our coaches are, and nobody else is in the system. Just making it more clean like that. As an LSC, I feel like it's appropriate that I'm gonna say this publicly. I've been monitoring some of the refereeing when it comes to basketball specifically. I have been in communication with IHSA about some targeting. Bullying isn't the right word, but focusing on our boys program specifically. I could tell you why I think that is coming from. I don't know if that's appropriate for here, but I have sent some communication. There was an individual referee that anytime, and I've seen the film, I've reviewed it myself, was not necessarily balanced in their approach. And it was clearly towards our team and our coaches. I've been working, CPL has been very supportive of this. They're aware of it. IHSA has as well. I just wanted to bring it to your attention because that was outside of that person's role. And they were constantly going after our coach and team for reasons that were unwarranted, presenting information that was incorrect. CPL was very supportive, knew that it was incorrect, and they helped support me in addressing some of those things. But as a local school council, if that kind of information were to come to you, I wanted you to be aware of it. I think that's important, but also that's why I want to say it publicly, because I think if that gets to become a community thing, that needs to come to me directly so that I can address those things. But I appreciate, again, the Chicago Public Schools has been supportive in this too. And our programs are just they're moving forward, and we're having great experiences. We have a really terrible gym that we pack up, and in a way it's fun, but in a way it's not. Just because we have to actually tell students they can't attend. We can't publicize it and say, let's pack 1,000 students like we would other sporting events. Things for us to consider. Our board, our scoreboard is dying. And we were able to have a nice conversation with our refs. They could have made us forfeit the last game because the shot clock was flickering and cutting in and out. They had to restart the clock 7 times. We ended up with a table one that we had to wind up multiple times. So it is not good. I have been in contact with the Chicago Public League about this. This is informal. This has not been put in writing, but during our last game, we're going to push to see if they will split the cost of a potential new board, scoreboard. But also in some of the conversations that extended from our budget committee, I think it's the budget committee I was talking to. Yeah, so would be again, businesses maybe contributing to it, doing some advertisements on it. I know with the university that I'm on their board of trustees, that we work on getting people to pay for things to put their name on. So if it wants to be the Aramark scoreboard and they pay for it, then it can have Aramark scoreboard on it for the next 30 years. And then we can also work on advertisements on it. But so those are things I'm exploring right now, just to give you kind of a heads up, and I will engage the budget committee more on that when I have more information. But just that's the direction we're going. And my final news is we are going to have a trainer paid for by the district. I know this is something I've been working on for quite a bit. So we will have a trainer who will be here 3 days a week. I'm meeting, I think her name is Christy. Don't quote me. I'm meeting with Christy next Thursday to set up what this looks like in 3 days a week of support. This is something that just boggles my mind that Chicago Public Schools does not have, individual schools don't have trainers. It's scary. Students get hurt. We've had students who fall during I'm just using basketball because it's top of mind, who fall and hurt and twist their ankles. Students think the best thing to do is put ice on it, and then they want to go play a game. That is not what you do. And so having a trainer present not only is beneficial for our own students, But when we have those highly competitive events that we're able to support other teams, and I think that's good. It's what it should look like. So when we play schools outside of Chicago who have trainers at every game we go to, we're able to reciprocate that type of support. And so we're moving forward with this. I'm very excited to celebrate. You're really the first for me to be able to share it with. I've been geeking out about finally getting to this point. I'm meeting with Christy next Thursday, and we'll set up that schedule, and we'll be moving forward. At this point, I know we have a trainer. They'll be here 3 days a week. That is the level of what I know at this point. Yeah, I'm not. I would probably envision that it would be more towards the end of the day after school. I don't want students will not miss class to go to a trainer. That is not going to happen. So it would have to be after school. I know Miss Kong in the wellness department is thinking about in the future of moving towards having an 8th period kind of a class in which athletes would be able to, that would be their prioritized time. We're not there. I don't want to go deep into that conversation. So we're trying to think strategically about long-term about how we can support our students, creating an 8th period like that, where athletes within a lot of suburban schools do that. And then that allows where students aren't missing their 8th period when they're like baseball always misses 8th period. All right, well, they have an athletic period, 8th period, they're not missing instructional class. That could also be time in which they can go to the trainer before practice after school. So these are going to be some of the long-term shit that we're looking at. We will not have that 8th period athletics class next year. We are not in a position to do that at this point. That'll be an SY 26 thing that we'll be focusing on.
Okay. Just start date for Christy.
I will find out more information on Thursday.
Okay, great.
I really just got this
Great. Well, congratulations. That's great news. Thank you very much. And on the AD, if you make a decision next week, when could they start, or would they start, do you think?
It depends on who's hired. If they're within CPS, it's an easier process. If they're outside, it's a different onboarding process. You will be the first to know before it's communicated out.
Okay, great. Ms. Kaler?
Go ahead.
I think that okay, just a quick question. If you've got 5 teams, right, that are in season, how do you decide who's going to get training or not, and to make sure that this is equal when it comes to gender? And let me just say that with the football coach that, is speaking every day, probably, right? I mean, I don't know. A lot of the kids feel that it's unfair that one sports team is being acknowledged and not other sports teams are being acknowledged. It always seems to be going towards the male sort of side, but I'm just wondering how you kind of came to the conclusion that he can come on and say go football team, which I think is great, but why not go
permission to do that?
Yeah,
I've been working with who puts our announcements together. We are trying to address individuals from doing random announcements.
Yeah, he's been doing it. Thanks.
Sanctioned school announcement.
I mean, why not go girls basketball?
We're playing tonight. And so, but as it pertains for the trainer will be in one location for athletes to go to. If we had multiple trainers, we would have them maybe going to off-campus competitions, but they would be in one place so that every team would have access to the trainer. This is when we're talking about training
sheet or something.
We'll have to work with logistics on it, but we're talking about injured ankle. This is this is not weights.
You're thinking workout.
Yeah, this is not a workout thing.
I
This is injuries, and so how do we preparation for sprain an ankle, and that will be for all teams. And so at a game, if the girls basketball team is playing and a young lady twists their ankle, the trainer would be there to then make sure it's not damaged, concussion protocols, those kind of things. So it's really for injuries. So I know exactly what you're thinking with training being weights and
yeah. Okay, Ms. Semnick.
One comment, I hope that someone being in CPS doesn't become the reason why someone is getting chosen for AD. So I hope that we are searching far and wide and we pick the best candidate, not the one that's going to be, fast tracked. With the lacrosse coaches and the other spring coaches, you're going to be doing those interviewing, or you're waiting for the AD to be hired?
No,
to do
I'm
this?
moving it forward. I've already set up interviews. We're not waiting for an AD to do it. So I've already received, over the holiday break, because that's when the alderman put it forward, was a week or two before. I received them over the holiday break. I've already been setting up interviews. So we're moving forward with that, whether we have an AD or not. So that is.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Steinmiller, for the athletics update. We're all we have left are reports, public comment, and then we're in a closed session. So reports, student voice, and then student life.
Yeah, so for Student Voice Committee, today we presented at the assemblies very briefly. We shared our survey, which is now officially done and out for responses. We've gotten almost 200 to this point, and today was the first day that it was out. So we're getting really good turnout for that. And our hope is to be around 750 to 1,000 responses by the February meeting, so we can report to that. That's really all that we've been working on recently. We're going to go around just to the different lunch periods and just go up to people and just ask them to fill it out. And then we're sending a link to it to the different teachers that and asking them to put it on their Google Classrooms and to sort of just promote it during classes. That's just sort of how we're planning on doing turnout, and it's off to a great start.
Okay, so looking ahead, we have some planning for the upcoming month. So as Alexander mentioned, today the survey went live, which we're super excited about. Going forward, so we're going to wait for data collection until around like February 7th. Hopefully, we're expecting more responses to come in, but until that point, that's going to be probably where we're going to hit like a climax at the max amount of responses. On the 29th of January and the 5th of February, we're going to do some data analysis with the Student Voice Committee Club and kind of talk about noteworthy takeaways and key points that we've kind of gathered. And then we'll present at the 8th on February 8th. So, and then as for student life, just super excited about winter formal. The seniors found out that prom was going to be tentatively at the Field Museum, which they're pretty excited about. I think those are going to be the main points. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Comments, questions, smiles, all the above. Okay. School reports, PPLC.
They ditched me. I didn't even know. So the last PPLC meeting that we had 2 motions on the table that were voted for unanimously. I was not there. Sorry. And then, boy, I just dropped the ball twice this month. I was home with a really sick child. And then I wasn't at the PPLC or
Thank you.
yeah, pooping right here on our lawn, probably. Go get him, Mr. Stucky. And then I missed the
What is that in your hand?
a taser?
Taser?
No. It's just- Oh, that's got.
Little bit of fun. And then the meeting with Dr. Steinmiller, with us to bring the motions. I wasn't there either because a student was having a terrible time. So anyway, Dr. Steinmiller was very understanding. And David, I guess, so tell me where I may, because he wrote that long summation. It's not that long, but the 2 motions on the table were for programming and making sure that a date was the problem that was that teachers are concerned that they're not going to get their schedules and it's uploaded to Aspen so that teachers can have time before classes in session to just do what they need to do. So you committed, I think, to having programming done by the district's deadlines, which we believe, Dave said, to be towards the end of the first week in August 24. And that you also acknowledge the wording of the recommendation is difficult for the programmer and admin to adhere to because surely some amount of program changes will need to be made. I think that we said something like all of the programs have to be in place, and we understand that. Slight adjustments will need to be made, but generally speaking, the whole matrix of room allocation and rosters has been agreed upon to be completed by around August 4th through 7th, 2024. Thoughts? I think that's what you and Dave agreed to.
And I would have to yes, that they will be done in a point where it's advanced, well enough advanced. We want to adhere to the expectations of the district with programmers. If they give a window of when things are due, I also need it. From a contractual standpoint, I can't give an earlier date than what the district would give a contract. But yes, that where teachers know their classes, they know the rooms that they're in, it gets committed and they'll be able to see those things. We make adjustments as we're getting to the start of the year. That's something that I know that working with our programmer meets the district's expectations, but also.
Okay. All right. And the second was the cell phone policy. We put on the table, and I think I shared with all of you that really great article I thought was from Education Weekly on some of the challenges that schools and teachers and students are facing, and really using, there's enough time that has gone by that there is science that is linking depression and isolation to technology, and COVID, what you say, impacted that, or what you say, accelerated that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And, when I was reading through it, something as simple as, even if the students' cell phones are away, I usually leave a couple of minutes at the end of class if there are any clarifying questions, and just to let the kids get it together. Instead of talking to each other like used to be the days, those cell phones come right out and everybody's back into it again, rather than, and I think even though we all know that, I think this article did a really nice job of capturing what we all think. And so anyway, I guess I wasn't there, but at the meeting, it was decided that the motion on the table was to have a cell phone policy that teachers can, I don't know, give feedback on before moving forward. I don't know. I emailed Dr. Steinmiller and said, I don't know, the science is there, right? Let's do this and get it done. And he said, I agree. To have people's feelings on this, and I know that it's difficult, but feelings aren't science. I think that we really need to be proactive, and we can be a school that really does it right, But I do think, saying this, students need to be brought into this. I had a nice conversation with my AP students that are a nice focus group. They come from all over the spectrum. And we had a really great conversation. And if you do and treat them as adults, that you care about them and this is what's going on, they say, you know what, it may be hard at first, but I will do it. So I think that's something to consider rather than just saying this is what's going to happen. But I think something should happen. So that's it.
Yeah, we agree. And we agreed in the PPM with Mr. Cotton's engaging teachers, engaging students in that process. So through the student voice committee would be probably the best outlet. PPLC is the other one. But by spring break, we'll have like our pilot of what that would look like as a school. Next, and safety committee will probably talk about it, but next Friday, JJ, Mr. G, Ms. Walker and I are going over to Lane Tech. We're doing a visit. So we're going to see how they've implemented their policy, what the practices, best practices they put in place. So we are moving this forward. And I appreciate the recommendation from the PPLC. I also appreciate the PPLC's recommendation to make sure the teachers and students and community are part of the process too. And it's not just entirely top down, but we are moving forward.
Okay. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Kaler. PPC IB, I don't think we have any representation unless they're online. No.
We'll check this.
Okay. Dr. Simon is going to confirm that. If not, we'll move ahead to LSC subcommittees. We're good?
Yeah, I don't see any.
Okay. LSC first is safety and security.
I can give an update. JJ shared an update with the LSC, so everyone would have gotten this. Well, he did it through Dr. Steinmiller, so everyone would have gotten this in the materials Dr. Steinmiller shared. I gave an update that Amy seconded of a meeting that Dr. Steinmiller, Amy, and I and others had with CPS facilities about the creating some kind of a perimeter fence in the mall here to try to make sure that kids are not interfered with by adults. They shouldn't be on campus necessarily during the school day. The meeting wasn't without frustration. It is a public walkway. That's one of the reasons why it's designed as such. And so it seems like there's a series of additional approvals that need to take place in case we are going to restrict a public way, especially because underneath the street, apparently there's significant piping. The follow-ups were going to be engaging the local fire department. For one of the concerns was egress related to fire emergencies. And so one was there. And then the Alderman Knutson, who's a local area alderman, was going to also endeavor, I think it takes us following up with him though, but endeavor to engage also some kind of review of the public walkway and what it might take to create. So that was right before Christmas. I appreciate Dr. Steinmiller's advocacy to try to move that forward. So there was an update there. And then we did talk about the cell phone policy. Had a good discussion of just trying to make sure that we were pushing this through. I know there was concern among safety and security personnel about how to actually enforce this. And so there's an eagerness, I know, for the Lane Tech meeting, especially Lane Tech's protocols say that you're not allowed to use volume, like talk on the phone or video in the hallways or during lunch. You can text in the hallways or during lunch. And so like the actual aspect of enforcing that, and there's a series of elevating categories. And so there's skepticism certainly out of the safety committee on being able to enforce that in hallways and during lunchtime. But certainly the eagerness to see how it's implemented in the classroom. Then there was an overview of the dashboard data, and I appreciate that. Angelica has joined and was taking wonderful notes. And so thank you, Angelica. The out of school suspensions, we have significantly, I think it'd be good if actually JJ or Mr. G were in the next meeting to give an update from first semester, but the data seems pretty promising compared year over year. So maybe that's a request that we can make, that they can present on it from first semester.
Yep. At the February meeting, I talked to Mr. Collins about this briefly. I was going to check in. We're starting to actually receive our semester one student data, but also our some of our sort of practice data. I'm geeked about it, but I had to kind of restrain with not adding it to this because I wanted the emphasis to be on post-secondary, and I didn't want to overload our local school council. I also think like it's an appropriate meeting for February then to focus on semester one outcomes and then next steps to continue to address any deviations or drops, but also celebrate the successes. And so I think we can then talk. I can ask them to be a part of that process. I think it would be, they're going to organize it in a way that's,
Okay, so February, we could do that and maybe include.
Yep.
Thank you. Right. Anything else on safety security? Okay. Next is community relations. Might be you, because I think.
Yeah. I know that Paul, the few of us are on the committee. Paul was organizing a date. I think we're meeting on Tuesday of next week. I think that's the date that was settled on for the subcommittee meeting. I know it's been a couple months or so since the group met.
Okay. Great. Next is principal evaluation. The update there is we have to formally complete a form and ratings that we agreed to in closed session. I've given that to Dr. Steinmiller. So he has that. So that process is complete. No other current updates. A reminder that the spring at the end of the year, we do have to do a single year evaluation for him, which I think should be just something coming up in months in the future, but no other update aside from that. Next is communication. Yeah. Oh, really?
We're gonna straddle communications and like clubs and things like that.
Ooh,
So
great. Okay.
knock it-
Wonderful.
Knock it out. Jane can come.
Great. Thank you, student representatives, for that integration there. That's awesome. Facilities.
We haven't met yet in the new year as a committee.
Okay.
I do know I saw Mr. Cantori briefly, who said, the heat is working. The facility didn't crumble during Christmas break, so that's all big positive. Yeah. It's a positive for obviously today. And then obviously the update on the meeting that we had. I don't know if Dr. Steinmiller has any tidbits.
Yeah, in short, we check in on Mondays. Nothing, really the biggest facilities things related to safety and security. I also want to just appreciate Ms. Zemnick being here on, that was Friday, right? Friday.
Oh,
Thursday. Like whatever in the, yeah. But that's, you know, that's really kind of in our area of the facilities point. I think we will navigate that. I'm optimistic. I've been in touch with Ms. Chow since our meeting. We're setting up some things with the fire department, and we will ask them what needs to be done to be able to achieve this. And from a district standpoint, it seems to not be actually a financial limitation, more of just we need to work through those principles. We are paying attention to our building needs, and that you saw some of the grass is ripped out from all the digging. I think to deal with our additional plumbing concerns, but we're making more progress towards that. That was really the extent of it. We have hired a new custodian, so we're gone from 5 of 9 to 6 of 9. Yay!
Did she say anything? I want to today.
Vape update for the facilities. They have been installed. But
Yeah, I don't think we're going to give this as a public update.
yeah,
Oh.
they've been installed. They have been installed. I can, as I continue to monitor safety and security needs, I'd be happy to update as that's a part of principal evaluation. I'd be happy to discuss that as part of principal evaluation, monitoring safety and security.
Great. That's it. So if time for public comment, is there anyone in the public in the room or online who has a comment to make? Okay, Miss Jenny Rosenthal.
I heard.
Hello, Jenny Rosenthal, parent. I just wanted to thank you again. Happy New Year. Thank you all for the work and your dedication. We're very much appreciate on behalf of all the parents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone online, Dr. Steinmiller?
I see just 2 attendees. Thank you for being here.
Okay, no comment though. Okay. All right. So we are going to now move into closed session. I would like to take a just 2-minute bio break maybe for anyone who needs that. But is there a motion to move into closed session? Miss Zemnick, thank you. A second. Miss Rosenthal, those in favor? Great. And Alicia, you in? Great. Thank you. Okay. So we're now in closed session. Thank you for attending, and for the online portion, you're gonna.
I will, Peter, we have to pay attention just to make sure somebody.
Wait, there's a meeting next Thursday. Is that still happening? That meeting?
Yes, the financial, those roundtables. Yes, it's a very good point. I'll send a standalone email out about that on the 18th. Is the district-wide roundtable that we're hosting. We need to get like everybody. Yeah, I'll send that out to Ace. And there's potential that the mayor may be coming in on next Wednesday.
Thursday.
Next Wednesday.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah.
For what? Just to do like a walkabout?
It's like with the alderman. It's not anything with the school specifically, but we're gonna, we're trying to get him in the building. So he may host his event.
Oh, wow.
Here.
With all the aldermen? All
Yeah,
five?
let me,
All the aldermen or just?
Knudsen.
Oh.
All right, let me, I'm gonna clean this up and then we will be good to go. Let me also stop
Okay.
the,
All right.
recording.
3 minutes for a bio break. Well, and Dr. Steinmiller to fix the recording.
For the communication meeting.
I need to go to this thing. Stop.
Let me look back. At least I'm gonna see it on my Google Calendar.
Yeah, you're not included. I don't know who's done that. It's not-